The May 27, 2017 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Baroff? Here. Chairwoman Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew?
Here.
Ms. DeFlorio? Here. Mr. Flagler-Mitchell is excused. Mr. Holland? Here. Mr. Marinetti? Here. President Daniele? Here.
Is there anybody signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? And now I'd like to introduce Rochelle Bell, Senior Environmental Planner from the Planning Economic Department. And the floor is yours, Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all should have a copy of the County Executive's 2018-2023 CIP. This document has been reviewed and approved by the Monroe County Planning Board, and the board conducted a public information meeting as part of their review. I would like to remind you that there are no funding approvals associated with taking action on this referral. In June, you will set a public hearing for July, and then hopefully you will vote to approve the plan. There are 4 sections in the CIP pertinent to this committee: the airport and the 3 DES divisions. The airport has a large program with 31 projects, and it begins on page 23 of your CIP. 2 new projects are introduced in 2023, which is when we like to see new projects introduced to the CIP at the outer years. And the $40 million in state funding is covering project design and construction in 2016 and 2017. Its impact on the 2018-2023 CIP is minimal. The grant money is meant to accelerate projects, not replace funding. Moving on to DES, the Pure Waters program begins on page 41. There are 8 projects in this year's CIP, down from 11 in the adopted CIP. And this is due to completion or near completion of projects that don't need additional funding. One notable change is the funding for the Van Leer wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifier. Funding had to be moved up to 2018 and 2019. So funding for the Northwest Quadrant aeration system improvements was moved back to 2020 so that costs in this program could be more evenly distributed. One new Pure Waters project is introduced in 2023 for security improvements at Van Leer. Facilities management begins on page 45 of the CIP. Security system improvements is new to this part of DES's program this year, and it's a result of the dissolution of one of the LDCs. It is a cash capital project that will be funded out of the operating budget each year. The other change from last year, and the one that really explains most of the increase in facilities 6-year program, is the cost of county office building reconstruction. And returning to the CIP this year is the solid waste division. They have one project discussed on page 50 for solid waste facilities. I'll be happy to take questions when you get to this item on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the April 24th, 2017 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee. Before you, they will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. New business. The next item on the agenda is new business.
Referral 17-0153.
Move it by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Holland. Is there any discussion? President Daniele.
Yes, Chairman Brew, if I could just take a moment to explain this resolution. Joanne Van Zant recently passed away. She is a former county legislator and the first and only president of the county legislature. And she served back in from 1977 to 1992. She was also instrumental in the renovation of these chambers from their past state, pre-90s to now. And I wasn't here for that, but from what I understand, it was a marked improvement for these chambers. And more than decorating, I think Joanne exemplified a leader, a female leader in our community. broke the ceiling, if you will, as far as the presidency. Was also very involved with the Susan B. Anthony House. And as we are celebrating 150 years of women's suffrage, and Rochester being kind of at the center. Is it 150? Yes, I think it is. Yes. I felt it was appropriate to honor her and her achievements, and would ask this body to consider this resolution and this opportunity to remember Joanne.
Thank you, President Daniele. Any other discussion? Legislature Baroth.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of procedural questions, actually. I have nothing opposed. In fact, I'm very much happy for the idea of dedicating the legislative chambers. I guess my question is does such a dedication require an act of the legislature to do so, or could we not just simply do so? And I'm happy to go through the chair to whoever might want to answer.
Through the chair to President Daniele.
My understanding, and obviously I could defer to legal on this, and I know we did consult with them, is that it appears to be perhaps in the power of the president of the legislature to do so. However, this is kind of an opportunity for us as a legislative body to do it together, and I felt that given her past position in this body, that it would be a nice thing for us to do it as a group. So I'm not sure that technically it requires this, and I guess I would defer to the law department.
Through the chair, I believe.
Through the chair, I believe it does require legislative approval, and I will double check that, and if I'm incorrect, I'll let you know.
Thank you. Any other? Yes,
Yeah.
Legislator Baroth.
Just a couple of questions, actually. I'm assuming the dedication is going to be a ceremony, but through the chair to the appropriate person, the administration or the president, will there be a plaque or some sort of signage of some sort to indicate this? And if so, out of what budget line will that plaque be paid for? Thank you.
And I will defer to President Daniele on this one as well.
You are correct, Legislator Baroth. So that the intent is to have a plaque made that would be placed outside of these legislative chambers on the way in. There wouldn't necessarily be anything inside of the chambers themselves. It would be outside the front door, and that would be paid for from the president's office budget.
Thank you. And so therefore, through the chair to my colleague, am I correct to assume then that that's why it does not need to go through Ways and Means, since the funds are coming from the president's office? Would that be correct?
That's correct.
And through the chair of the administration, legally speaking, is that kosher?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the actual acquisition or procurement of the plaque wouldn't actually require legislative approval. That would be well within the limit that was authorized in the change of the charter. So the president would be entitled to go ahead and make that acquisition without this legislative body's approval.
And if you could, the only question is just literally the only opportunity I'll have to do so otherwise, other than in full-fledged, I'd rather do it here. So, thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 17-0159.
Moved by Legislator Howland, seconded by President Daniele. Any discussion on this matter? Legislator Baroth.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair of the administration, as I make my way to the correct page, I did have a follow-up question regarding the earlier question in another committee regarding what papers were being utilized to list a public hearing, and that's the Daily Record and the Rochester Business Journal, and I fully understand why that's the case for fiscal reasons, if nothing else. My question is, has the administration considered going to other non-traditional, not necessarily papers of record, but other formats of advertising this, such as perhaps the Rochester Daily, or what's the online one? I'm blanking. Somebody help me here. The city newspaper, that's the one I was thinking about, because they have a large online presence. I mean, has the administration given any thought to that? If it was a low or no-cost situation, would they consider that? Through the chair.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we do a press release, so through our communications office, and we also have an online presence, but we don't reach out to each individual paper.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, I did have a question about the CIP on page 42. It was mentioned that under the Pure Waters District that a couple of the projects were moved around in order to spread out the load. In particular, that the aeration system from the northwest quadrant was moved out a year or so, and that the secondary clarifier was moved up. And my question is, where were these projects originally in the CIP, and what year were they expected to be done, but they were moved? Through the chair.
Through the chair, the FEV secondary clarifier project was originally programmed in 2 years, 2020 and 2021. So that was moved up several years. And the Northwest Quadrant aeration project was formally programmed in 2018. So that was moved out 2 years.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair of the administration, I'm correct to assume that the secondary clarifier improvement project was moved up in order to address some of the issues we've been facing in the Pure Waters District last 6-8 months. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you. And finally, the new project, the security improvements project, that has been calculated and is appropriately balanced way out in 2022? Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, I believe it's 2023.
2023, my bad. Okay. But it is out there for that reason to help balance out the debt load, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
All right. Thank you. I'll have additional questions at Ways and Means, but I just wanted to ask that specific to this committee. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 17-0165, authorize a contract.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by President Daniele. Discussion. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next item, please.
Referral 17-0171,
So moved by Legislator Marinetti, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio. Any discussion? Legislator DeFlorio.
Yes, through the chair, could you please tell us why this is a matter of importance?
Through the chair, the agreement that was signed with New York State for the grant had a schedule of work, and this is in line in keeping with that schedule. We're just making sure that we're on schedule with what we promised the state of New York.
Thank you.
Legislator Barath.
Through the chair of the administration, has this company done similar studies for other airports in the past?
Through the chair, they have done work around other airports, specifically this type of work. I know that they've done work in Michigan. I don't have their RFP in front of me or their resume in front of me, but I know for a fact that they have done work at other airports, and specifically I know of Michigan.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair of the administration, I'm assuming that well, maybe I shouldn't assume. Is this part of a trend in that airports and other areas with large amounts of land are utilizing product development space within themselves in order to, I don't know, turn a profit or be more efficient? Is that a general trend that we're seeing, that we're being part of that trend? Or are we leading the way? The company has done similar work on other airports, so is this a trend or what?
Through the chair, not a trend. We are mandated to use and collect as much rent or get as much use out of this airport space that's not aeronautical or not able to be used for aeronautical use. What is trendy is the innovation or incubator portion of what we put in our grant application, which is why we think that the state of New York found this to be worthy of this study.
That makes sense. Through the chair of the administration, I was going to ask a question, what are the advantages in that? I think you've just laid out at least one of them. And the fact that you're mandated to get additional rent and funds makes sense. One of the questions I have, though, is I know that we have been purchasing properties around the airport as an ongoing process to mitigate against those structures that might be in place that might be at risk due to the flight paths and such. And I might be simplifying things amazingly here, and I'll own that. But is any of that land that we're purchasing from the various neighborhoods around the airport going to be utilized in this project, or is it too early to tell? Through the chair.
Through the chair, the properties that you speak of in the runway safety areas or runway protection zones, I would not recommend that they be used. They're in the flight paths.
Right.
And could be used for certain purposes, like parking, for example, because our parking lot does lie within the runway protection zone for runway 22. That's an example of proper use for space like that. But the acquisitions, I believe, that you speak of on Bean Road do not apply to this purpose.
Okay. And then finally, through the chair of the administration, I have a question regarding the actual referral itself. And I'm going to read the one sentence you have the question about, and it says, the plan will also help the county, its community supporters, and other stakeholders in endorsing and implementing the developed concepts. And I'm curious, who do we mean by the community supporters and other stakeholders? Through the chair.
In the grant, through the chair, excuse me. In the grant application, we were fortunate enough to get 75 letters of support from everyone in the community, be it business, government, and other supporters, especially the Finger Lakes Economic Development Council chairman, and I believe that's what that refers to.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion regarding this matter? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. There being no other matters before the committee, the May 22nd, 2017 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will be held on Monday, June 26, 2017 at 5:45 p.m.